Welcome to the training. If you have a small accounting firm, yourself, maybe an assistant, one employee, or you're looking to start your own thing, leave a traditional firm, you're in the right place. What I want to share with you today are things that I wish I knew when I started my own firm. So I'm going to cover things like the marketing mistakes that I made and what ended up working for me. I want to go over some of my process mistakes and now what I do to make sure that the client work doesn't get lost. And managing cash flow. There's a few things about managing cash flow that I wish I knew earlier in my career because I didn't manage it the right way earlier in my career. I felt like I was working a lot of long hours, but I didn't end up having anything to show for it. My name is John Briggs. I own Incite Tax, which I built from a firm of just me. I was in this little 10 by 14 office with no windows because I couldn't afford the office with the windows. To now we have 30 team members. I've been where you are. I've been the small firm. I've been the guy who wears all the hats. Long hours. My wife was basically a single parent during tax season. I was spending a lot of time on admin work. And I was working really, really hard, wondering why I didn't have any money to show for it. I'm not going to hold anything back. I'm going to give you everything that I got. No strings attached. And ultimately, I want you to be successful. And if you stay until the end, I'll also share with you the unique way that I grow my firm. That is it's not a traditional firm model, unlike anything you've probably ever heard of. And who knows, maybe you'll want to rip that off and duplicate it for yourself, which you totally can do if you want. So my hope is that by sharing with you, I'll help you avoid some of the pitfalls that kind of stifled my growth earlier in my career. Because, look, remember, 90% of the economy is small business. And accountants like you and me are really best at serving small businesses. So ultimately, the future of our economy, in many ways, is in your hands. And for selfish reasons, that's why I want you to be successful. I mean, I've done this long enough, and I know that there is more work out there than we have a capacity to do. So the fact that we're competitors doesn't bother me at all. Business owners need the advice that you give. They're starving for it. And there's just that element that they don't want to deal with in their business. So they need you. And again, I think the economy is going to be in a much better place the more small businesses that can stick around. I also, having associated with a lot of accountants in my career, I know that many don't really desire to have a big firm where they're managing lots of people, which is awesome. I mean, we have team members here at Incite Tax. They love making multiple six figures of take-home pay, and all they're doing is managing their book of business. They don't really want to manage people, so that's great. Whatever your desires, if you want to manage lots of people or have a lifestyle type of business, the mistakes I'm going to share with you, they should help you out. So feel free, take out a pen and paper, open up Word, however you take notes. Let's go over some of my marketing mistakes, and the solutions that we came up with. These marketing mistakes helped one of our accountants grow their book of business by $224,000 in 12 months. So this stuff works. When I set up my own shop, I took $20,000 of revenue with me from the previous firm as the buyout of the equity that I had in that firm. And so when I started, I knew nothing about marketing. I didn't understand sales, whatever you want to say it. I had no idea where I was going to get new clients. Super optimistic that my current clients were going to be very generous in the way they referred to me. But turns out I kind of needed to grow faster than the amount of referrals that were coming in, because with $20,000 of revenue, you don't really have a big pool of clients that are referring you a lot of work. So I joined BNI, Business Networking International, and some other networking groups. I was spending like 20 hours a week just shaking hands, talking to other business owners, hoping that they would at least refer people to me. Super incredibly inefficient. Now, I'm not saying networking groups don't have value, but the ones that I joined that were very low cost or free, guess what? Put me in connection with other business owners and people who also liked low cost and free items. They were more interested in price and not necessarily value. And other than that, the networking, I didn't really do anything else. So I did end up meeting business owners, and anyone that had interest, I would offer to do a free seminar, whether that's like a lunch and learn or a dinner thing. If they were willing to get people together, I was willing to talk to them about taxes. And I'm talking basic stuff. But so lunch and learns and small events, those can be really good in bringing in leads. It's something that you should consider, especially if you're having trouble getting leads. Now, my very early methods in finding those gigs or opportunities was super inefficient. One of the most efficient ways that you can find some of these groups to speak to email your current client list. Let them know you're looking for a few opportunities to teach a group of people about taxes. Now, I personally prefer to work with small business owners, so I said when I emailed our clients, hey, if you have a group of small business owners that you think would be interested in hearing some tax stuff for free, let me know. Simple email, your clients will respond because they're your clients, which means they probably love you. And I found, people liked learning about the things that you and I take for granted every day, really basic stuff. It's for us, it's basic, but for them, it's life-changing. With that experience, my philosophy of serve first and teach first really ended up becoming my marketing philosophy because I really hate the hard sell. No one likes that. Another thing with marketing that I needed to do was build this digital real estate of topics that people wanted to learn. And there's ways you could do that. Google has a lot of keyword searches. You could figure out what things are being looked up, and then you create content that if someone's typing in a very common phrase that Google says people type in this phrase a lot, all of a sudden you have a content piece that answers that exact question or is directly related to that or even has the exact phrase, you start showing up in Google searches. So when I first heard this idea, I'm like, I'm pretty sure everything in the world's already out on the internet. And yeah, it's already out there, but that shouldn't stop you because it's about building trust. Building digital real estate is going to allow a prospect to start building trust with you. It builds their trust that you actually know what you're talking about. And once they find that your information is valuable, they will keep coming back to you for more information because of the trust. Another benefit is once you do create something like this, a digital real estate item, it usually lives on the internet forever. So how do you do this? Consistent blog posts, videos, guest articles for other people, reports, anything that educates works just fine. But the secret to this is being consistent. Like you can't write a blog post and then 4 months later write another blog post, or you create your new website and you have five posts in a row, looks great, and then dead silent. Like there's nothing for another year. The secret is consistency. And I get that it's a time commitment. You're looking at probably 5 to 10 hours a week that you should be spending on this if you're serious about growing your business. But it is a time investment that I believe will eventually pay off. I know it's worked out well for us. We, at this point, get more than 50% of our new leads from this digital real estate stuff. And so that's roughly 500 to 600 leads a year that are coming in because we've been consistent over the years. And the last thing about marketing that I'm going to share, I definitely could go on forever, but I want to get to the other points as well. Marketing and sales is like dating. Don't try to get lucky before you even go on the first date. Hey, what's your name? Hey, hey, Susie, nice to meet you. We should sleep together, right? Of course you wouldn't do that, but it's done all the time in marketing. We get the prospect's name, and then we automatically want to sell them on our highest ticket price item. Look, we got to build up the relationship just like dating works. The goal, marketing's goal, is to get the prospect to the next most logical step. They give you your name. Are they willing to open up about things that are troubling them about accounting or taxes? Get them talking, right? Now that they're talking, are they open to recommendations you may have or suggestions or things they could think about, right? So you move them along this path. But that's it. The goal is to get them to the next logical step. Now, that being said, you also have to know when your lead is ready to buy, because you don't want to waste their time. Or worse, talk them out of wanting to work with you. Talking yourself out of a sale is not a good idea. So there is a bit of an art to knowing when you need, like, let's go slow and I don't want you to feel like I'm trying to jump in bed with you right away, versus I can see you're ready to go. Here's the deal. This is how it works. I know it can be taught because we teach our team how to do this very successfully. The next thing I want to talk about were the mistakes I have with my process flow. In the beginning, I was super inefficient at bringing in new clients, as I mentioned, spending 20 hours a week networking to get a few of these gigs of lunch and learn types of things. Okay, so I was spending too much time on that, which meant I also ended up being a little scattered as I tried to do the actual work and stay on top of the client projects and where it was at. So I made this list of stuff. Let's see if this sounds familiar. So client A, he's going to get you some stuff, but not all the stuff. So you still need something left before you can even do his taxes. Client B gets you all of his stuff, plus he sends you things you don't need. Client C hands you a shoebox. Should I start working on these returns right now? Client D, he gets me all this stuff, but it got lost in a pile. So when he calls me a month later, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm so glad you called. I was about to email you that I'm almost done with your return. Client E, his return's complete, but you still need the 8879 signed before you can actually finish filing it. Client F, his return has been filed, but he missed your size 30 font in the email that says you owe taxes. Make sure you pay it this way. And here are instructions on how to do that. He missed that. So he calls you pissed that, he owed taxes and now he has interest and penalties because he didn't pay it on time. All of that, of course, is hypothetical. So that's what I felt like I was living, especially in the early years. And once I got really good at bringing in leads, now I have too many new clients, which is actually a thing. And not only was I struggling to manage all my tax return projects, now I'm struggling on bringing on new clients, because bringing on new clients of itself is a project. Did I get all the client information right up front? Do I know all the services they actually want? Does the client have a crystal clear understanding of how our services really work, and do they know what they're really paying for? So in the beginning, I used Excel, and that worked out okay for me up until about 250 clients. Then it became almost a full-time job just to manually update the Excel file every day with the different changes and the different projects. I mean, you get an email from a client. Okay, that's the last piece of information I need. That means I can finish the return. Do I go into the Excel file right now and say, oh, I got the missing piece of information. Now I need to do the return. Or do I do the return, then send off the client review to the client, and now when I go back and I'm basically having to read every single list of the 250 people or more, okay, where's this client? Oh, there he is. What did I actually do today? Now I'm going back into my email. What did I do? I forgot. It becomes very inefficient. So I recommend finding a software that makes this easier to track than Excel does. And there's lots out there. I'm not a sponsor for some sort of software. But regardless of what software you use, here are the stages that we found over the years that with a tax return work best on tracking. So step number 1, gather source docs and confirm engagement letter. Meaning like, hey, is this engagement letter signed? And just so you know, in our engagement letter, we include their payment information. So the engagement letter is not complete unless they give us payment information. Number 2, we prepare the return. Number 3, the return needs to be reviewed. Look, we all make mistakes. So the more eyeballs I have on a return, the less chance a mistake gets made. Number 4, send a copy of the return to the client so they can review it, so they have a chance to freak out or be happy based on how much they owe or don't owe. Then number 5, get the client to sign the 8879 and then charge them or receive payment if you're not actually getting that information up front. Number 6, file the actual return. Number 7, confirm for the client that the return has been filed and then get them vouchers. Those are, when I say that, I'm talking about vouchers for payment information for this year and then next year's estimated payment vouchers. And then number 8, we also email the clients that are getting a refund a couple weeks later, giving them an update on the status of their refund. Do we make mistakes? Yeah. And do clients leave us because of those mistakes? Yes. Average retention rate in an accounting firm is 78 to 85%. Our firm has 95% retention. And this project flow that I just talked about is one of the reasons why we have such great retention rate. True growth happens more from retention than it does getting new clients. And so retention increases when you have systems that wow the client. And I can tell you what I just laid out. The client feels involved in the whole process. Again, I'm not saying we don't make mistakes, but rarely do we have a client wondering where their tax return is or what the status is. So that's been really good for us. Okay, the next part I wanted to talk about was managing cash flow. I spent that first year on my own doing what I call being a price-titute. Someone would ask me, hey, what did you charge for your services? And I would say, what do you want to pay? Basically, whatever somebody was willing to give me, I was going to do the work at that price. And that is not the best formula for setting up prices that allow you to build in flexibility in your life and have this work-life balance. Not to mention those types of clients that are just looking for the lowest price, guess what type of people they know and are referring to you? Other people who are like them who also are just looking for the lowest price. And again, what you do is so much more valuable than becoming a commodity. And I get there's a lot of options out there with softwares like TurboTax and whatever. That's a commodity service. You're a real person and you add so much more value than a software can. Don't ever sell yourself short. I also learned while working at a Big Four firm the danger of billable hours. As an employee, I was promoted based on how many billable hours I had. Also, as an employee, I didn't have any control over my workflow. In fact, if you think about the traditional model, very few people in the organization actually control workflow. So what happens is if I got one project on my desk to work on, I didn't want to be penalized by having fewer billable hours than other people who they're comparing me against for promotions because I'm more efficient at my job than they are. So what do? You take your sweet time. What happens in the traditional firms? If you have a bunch of returns or projects to work on, for sure, you can crank through them. It's just very inefficient. And the problem is that your clients are the ones who actually eat that cost. So these clients of this Big Four firm are eating the inefficiencies of their promotion model. The main people that are accruing the expense, they don't control the workflow. And, if you, maybe you are just screwed because the staff accountant working on your project had nothing else to work on. And so he took a sweet time on your stuff. Also, come to find out, your clients hate being invoiced by the billable model too. It makes them feel nickel and dimed. Doesn't leave them feeling like you care about them as a person. We think you should charge based on the value you create. I know we've had team members that in the past have struggled with this idea because they've been pricing so low for so long and dealing with price shoppers for so long that they actually didn't feel like they were worth the fees we told them they were worth. They ended up needing a lot of support to get over that. And luckily with the team that we have, we're able to do that because they're not on an island. They're not isolated. We're able to help them understand the value that they're offering. And, for sure, some clients are like, I'm not paying that much. That's not a problem. You don't need to. Good luck. We have enough clients and enough leads coming in that we don't have to choose to take on someone who doesn't value what we do, who's just shopping for price. Another thing about cash flow, accounts receivable. When I was only doing $200,000 in a year in revenue, I had almost $100,000 in accounts receivable. So now I've given myself a third full-time job of having to track down payment information from clients. I mentioned our process that we have now in the engagement letter. They have to give us their payment information. So clients in their engagement letter are authorizing us to charge them for the fees they already agreed to when they sign the 8879 to e-file the return. Our accounts receivable it's much smaller and is definitely less of a problem right now. The third thing about managing cash flow is something it's called Profit First. It's based on a book called Profit First. So my first full year, I have some numbers here that I wrote down that I'm looking at. My first full year, I did $100,000 in revenue and netted about $40,000. Second year, increased my top line by $30,000, but my net income only increased by $2,000. That's a bad ratio to work. I also the third year I did $182,000 and saw a nice jump in net income. It was close to $90,000. The year after that, I added $40,000 in revenue, but my net income dropped by $10,000. So what's going on here is bad cash flow management. And it happens to the best of us. It's based on a thing called Parkinson's Law. So Parkinson's Law says that the demand for something expands to match its supply. The demand for something expands to match its supply. How does this relate to cash flow? With one business banking account, what we have is a giant pile of supply. Now, our demand on that cash, the demand of expenses, is going to continue to expand as long as there is cash available to spend. Parkinson's Law, it's human behavior. We're not going to be able to change that element of psychology. So instead, what we say with Profit First is let's put some boundaries around Parkinson's Law. So the full system, you can read the book. It's really good. It's definitely changed my life in so many ways. But the book recommends having a few different accounts in order to make these boundaries around Parkinson's Law work really well. That's like a whole training. Profit First. We help our clients implement this system. It's actually really awesome. It's also a great way to become a consultant with your clients instead of just being a compliance person, because you don't want them to see you as just a compliance person. So this allows us to be seen as consultants and charge more, and we get better value out of our clients that way. But what I'm suggesting, at a minimum, in order to avoid Parkinson's Law and some of the big things, if you create a couple other bank accounts and have specific purposes for them, one of them to be set aside your income tax money, set it aside in a separate account, and then setting up another account so that you're setting aside an amount of money to pay yourself for the work that you're doing in the business. This way, we avoid revenue increasing, yet my take-home pay doesn't increase. I'm increasing the hours of work and stress I'm taking on, but my take-home pay isn't increasing. Set aside a percentage of your income into this account. We call it owner's pay, to make sure that as income increases, so does your owner's pay amount. Those are basic things you can do on a profit first level. Of course, you could just buy the book as well and read the full system. It's very good. Just to recap, being efficient in marketing, having a reliable system to track your projects, managing your cash flow, it's going to help you increase your take-home pay and decrease the hours that you work. So I would say at this point, take 30 seconds. What's an action item that you're going to take? Of the things that I talked about, is there anything that seems like that's really easy? I can totally do that. Schedule it in your calendar right now. I'm going to email my clients and say, I have a free presentation I can give to a group of people. Do you know anyone who might have a group of small business owners or whatever you're looking for? Email your clients. So what action can you take? I hope you've learned something. I'm telling you, what I shared with you has drastically transformed the trajectory of where my firm was as a solo person. Then I hired an assistant, and now, like I said, we have 30 team members. I did mention in the beginning that I would share with you the unique way that I grow my firm. So look, if you were here just to get one of those golden nuggets, I hope you take action. I know it'll serve you. I know you're going to get benefit out of it. Thank you for being here. For everyone else who wants to hear how I grow my accounting practice, again, this could be a model you adapt, or quite frankly, you may find the model like, that sounds good to me. Let me tell you about what we do. So we call it the licensee model. Our accountants earn partner level pay while experiencing all the flexibility that ownership gives them without the actual hassle of ownership. The licensee model, like I said. So usually traditional firms require years and years of climbing the ladder, tons of hours of work, just to earn the chance that they may put you on partner track. And then when you do that, you actually have to buy in as a partner, which involves borrowing money, and then having to pay that back through lower distributions. Look, you guys know the data well. Very few accountants survive that gauntlet. On the flip side, you have small accounting firms, maybe a one-man or one-woman band show. They love serving clients, and they do a great job at that. But their business success is also going to be based on their ability to be successful with business operations, sales, and marketing. So just like I did, these owners work really hard and they're taking home less pay than they want for all this hard work that they're doing. So our licensing model kind of solves that. We give our team the opportunity to do the work that they love, whether that's taxes or bookkeeping or both, or profit first consulting, whatever. We have one team member, she loves offer and compromise work. So she's become an expert at that. And so we send all of our offer and compromise work to her. But they get to do it without the headache of managing the business system, the business engine. They don't have to deal with marketing. They don't have to deal with sales. They don't have to deal with closing new clients. They just get them handed to them. They set their own schedule, and they can grow their business to any size they want. I have one who does about 700 returns a year. I have another who does about 350 returns, and both of them are taking home the amount of money they want, and they're really happy with it. So as part of the licensee model, our firm provides to our licensees this list, and I created this list. Let me just read it to you. Some of the things that we offer our licensees, and these are in no particular order. Some of them are small things, some of them are bigger things. We do the work of returning source docs to the clients. We do postage on the snail mail stuff. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes they send you a shoot box and you got to send it back somehow. We file the returns for our clients. That's e-filing or paper filing. Good grief, how annoying is paper filing? Oh my gosh, writing out instructions for them to follow or having them come into the office. We handle that for our licensees. Filing extensions, it takes a lot of weight, a lot of stress off their mind. We'll track down payment information for clients because sometimes their cards bounce, sometimes their cards expire. They don't need that other full-time job like I had when I started off. We run the payments and we cover the processing fees. We give access so that their clients can use the client portal, the secure uploading of documents. Some clients are very worried about that, so we have the ability to do that. We provide IT support. We also have specialized computer software, like we cover Lacert for our tax work. E-file cabinet is our electronic filing system. We're very paperless. We have a remote server so that we can have virtual employees, team members. We also have a remote QuickBooks server that are for our clients who want to be on desktop. It allows them to access their desktop file while at the same time we can work in it. We use a thing called Tax 1099. Very convenient. We cover the cost of that for our licensees when it comes to filing their 1099s. It also is really great for one-off payroll and fixing things. We do payroll as well. We have a great relationship with ADP. So we actually rely on using their back-end system for a lot, but we still are able to invoice a little bit for our clients to do that work. Every year we have the new upgraded QuickBooks desktop server. We use a CRM called Incite. This is our workflow. It's something that we've worked out over the last decade of working on tax returns for like a pretty efficient system and process. Very awesome. Obviously, email services. We have Slack so that we can internally communicate so that the solopreneur or the licensee who technically is their own business, they have the ability to get support from an entire team. It works out really well. T-sheets for time tracking. We have a thing called Reminder Call that we set up so that the clients are reminded of things that they need to be doing, and that once it's set up, it becomes automated and the clients just get these nice little reminders. We have a monthly phone service that's included with what we provide for the licensees. That includes the actual phone hardware itself. It's an internet phone, so as long as the person has internet, it works. We do training. We have team trainings. Like today, for example, we actually went over a client who got a really bad service from us because, like I said, we make mistakes. And we had a complete debrief as an entire company on what could each position do, whether they're admin support or an assistant to an accountant or the actual accountant, whether staff accountant who did some data entry or the ultimate accountant who's responsible for the service deliverable. What are things that we could do to improve so that our current clients and future clients don't ever have to experience what this client went through? And we came up with a lot of great things, and they were able to bring up ideas on how process could be improved. So we have those types of trainings. We have technical trainings, just lots of trainings. How to communicate as a human training. I know it's weird, but sometimes the jargon that we use as accountants doesn't always resonate with our clients. And so talking through good techniques that way, just lots of training. We have developed processes and procedures for a successful accounting firm over the years. We call it role-based training, and so our licensees have access to that so that they don't necessarily have to ask somebody. They can easily figure out, oh, this is how I can do that. Awesome. We also provide 20 hours of accounting support. So that's data entry so that the licensee can focus as much as possible on the higher end service value add things, which is really the work the licensee loves to do anyways. So 20 hours a week of accounting support. If the licensee wants additional like admin support or like a personal assistant, we will interview and hire that person on their behalf. We'll do all that work, and they just get involved in the final stages of the interview process. We do the marketing. I mentioned the digital real estate stuff we have. I mean, we've been averaging without any effort or Facebook ad spend or Google ad spend, 1,000 to 1,200 leads a year. And it works. What we're doing works. We also provide sales. So the sales guy, we have a full-time sales rep. He meets with the prospects, he closes them, and that new prospect just shows up on the licensee's calendar. And of course, the licensees set their own schedule. It's not an employment relationship. It's independent contractor. It's a partnership. They are their own business, so they can work when they want. They can take off time when they want. It works out really well. So that's kind of the list of things that we provide to our licensees. CPA Practice Advisory says that the average net income for an accounting firm is 18%. When we bring on an accountant who already has an existing book of business, we pay them 70% of the revenue on their existing clients, while still providing all that stuff I just talked about, that entire list. So that's a 70% net income basically on their existing book. And then when we give them new clients, they can earn up to 90%. It is a tiered structure, so the bigger the book they get, the higher percentage they collect. Look, of course we have tax season, just like everyone else, and that does require more hours, but it sure is a lot more enjoyable knowing that they get such a large percentage of their collections. They don't deal with the stress of researching anything that would be required for business development. If there's new softwares out there or things that will improve the processes, we're already working on that on the operations side. They just get the benefit of the improved product, all done for them. They literally have people they don't even know showing up on their calendar. Like I mentioned, we got that sales guy, he closes them. And so when they have Susie show up on their calendar, they know that Susie already agreed to the services that she wants. She knows what she's paying. She's given us payment information. So all they have to do is talk to the client and serve them. It's all done. They don't have to have that uncomfortable, how do I sell them and how do I transition to the sell? And, I don't know, will she accept full price? Yeah, all done already for them. They just show up. We've basically taken virtually every single headache of business ownership and we've taken it off their plate so that the only thing they need to do is focus on serving their clients. They experience multiple six-figure take-home pay. They still have the flexibility to take time off when they want, just like an owner gets to do. And they have an amazing support from their team, which many of these accountants who are on their own don't have. They don't have it because there's that fear of talking to my competitor. Hey, what do you do on this? Well, since we're right next door, we're not in our company, we're not competing against each other. So it works out really well. We've had 2 licensees have babies, and they took time off to have those babies, but their clients were still served. I know accountants need help with the things that we offer. Most really just love doing the work, and they're not super excited about these non-billable activities that creep into the day as the owner or the solopreneur. That's really why we have the model the way we have it. We've solved all those headaches. So let's have a conversation about it. Go to incitetax.com/learn more or click the link below. I would love for you to be our next success story. And, thank you for being here. I appreciate your time and I look forward to hearing from you in the future.